Here we go. Okay.
Now,
Okay.
let's get Gimel over here.
What time is it?
Time for wait 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. My tie is not straight, B'Tzalel.
Well, you're in the makeup room.
Yeah. Producer. Okay, good. Hello.
Okay, hi.
Okay, wait, let's hit it.
It's not one of those songs where you just hit it.
Well, okay. Hit it.
So wait, we know what time it is?
Oh, it's time for Gezintahait,
It
please.
is time for Gezintahait.
Go.
Stavia pitu piadnicu. O piadnicu. Prapovia ja prapo. Свою телицю треба знати, як гуляти. Ой, треба знати, як брехати. Ой, хешбони цедек одавати пред паном хазяїном отвечати. Ой, ми п'єм, да п'єм, да ми гуляєм. Und men trinken Jain also Main. Und men so gehen alle zusammen Chaim. Ve'yatot ishma mi nashumayim. Stavia pitu subotu. O subotu. Prapovia ja prapo. Свою роботу треба знати, як гуляти. Ой, треба знати, як брехати. Агой, хешбони цедек одавати пред паном хазяїном отвечати. Ой, ми п'єм, да п'єм, да ми гуляєм. Und men trinken Jain also Main. Und men so gehen alle zusammen Chaim. Ve'yatot ishma oy mi nashomayim.
That was a heartfelt song there. Beautiful. You want to tell them what the words were?
Oh, yeah.
In English?
In English, it's Stavia Pitru. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong language. It means I begun to drink on Friday. And I drank my calf away. Meaning, I drank, so I lost my calf. Now, this is the first time. The second time is the same words, and it was on Saturday, and he drank his work away. He couldn't work anymore. One must know how to be merry. One must know how to like have to chat and have a fun talking. Oh, how to give a just reckoning for the master, the boss. how
That means
to justify oneself. But we drink, and we make merry. We drink wine like water, and we say together L'chaim. And you, please listen to us from the heavens. That's the words.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Now, the story for tonight is a very famous story that's often told. This Shabbos in 2 days is going to be the birthday of the Rebbe Rashab. And this story happened on Shabbos. Our Shabbos coming up is Vayeira, and it was Parshas Vayeira, and the Rebbe Rashab's birthday came up like this year on the 20th of Mar Cheshvan. And it's a very famous story. But our Rebbe gives us a teaching from the story that's not as well known, that's very, very valuable and worthwhile. The previous Rebbe related, that will be the son of the Rebbe Rashab's birthday, it is on the 20th of Mar Cheshvan. The previous Rebbe related that on the Rebbe Rashab's 4th or 5th birthday, his mother, Rebbe Rivka, took him to get a blessing from his grandfather, the Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek. That day was the 20th of Cheshvan, was Shabbos of the Torah portion Vayeira, like this year. And upon entering his holy grandfather's study, the boy broke into tears. When his grandfather asked why he was crying, young Sholem Ber answered, Hashem appeared to our forefather Abraham. That's the name of the parsha, and he appeared. So why doesn't he appear to me? That's why he was crying, because Hashem didn't appear to him. Now, there are two versions of the Tzemach Tzedek's answer. The first is when a Jew of 99 years resolves to give himself a circumcision, he deserves that Hashem should reveal himself. That's when Hashem appeared to Abraham when he gave himself a circumcision. The second version of the Tzemach Tzedek answer, he didn't say when a Jew of 99 years, he said when a tzaddik, a righteous individual of 99 years, resolves to circumcise himself, he deserves that Hashem should reveal himself. So there's two versions, and since the previous Rebbe said both, it means that there's something to learn from both versions. A Rebbe adds that even a Jew who served Hashem completely for 99 years, like Abraham, our father, one whose days were complete, he used out every minute of his life to serve Hashem, has to circumcise himself. Which is crazy. He lived 99 years serving Hashem, now he has to circumcise himself. Why? Because he has to remove the worldly covering which hides God's omnipresence. When the circumcision takes off the covering of the limb. By comparison, a person who's 100, like it says in Pirkei Avos, is compared to someone who has left the world already. At that level, the world no longer hides the godly daylight, the godly light, on the 100-year-old level. In other words, the godly light that's bringing the world into being and enlivening it is revealed to a person of 100 years old. But when you're only 99, you have to take off the covering. It's not that Avraham Avinu wanted to add something to his earlier service, or that he realized that the mitzvah of circumcision was missing. Rather, Abraham's whole service was to prepare his children to receive the Torah. And the mitzvah of circumcision served as the foundation of that service. So because that's when he had Yitzhak after he was circumcised. So in essence, Avraham Avinu's whole previous service of 99 years had been incomplete, and to perfect it, he needed to be circumcised. And the lesson is that however great our achievements have been until now, we have not reached the level of 100 years. Therefore, not only is our current level incomplete, we have to perfect all our earlier service by removing the covering which obscures the truth of existence, which is the godly life force that brings everything into being and enlivens it. And since both versions of this story were related by the previous Rebbe, they are both significant, and each contains a teaching that the other lacks. The answer to the Jew who's 99 years old resolves to become circumcised deserves a revelation of Hashem, and that teaches us the essential point of the story. The mitzvah of circumcision is the preparation for the mitzvahs we do after receiving the Torah. Avraham Avinu did a lot of mitzvahs before circumcision, but it's not the same as our mitzvahs that we do now after receiving the Torah. We are able to accomplish a unification with Hashem that he was not able to, and that's why he had to circumcise himself, so he could reach that level of the mitzvahs that we do. These mitzvahs are done with the strength of the Creator. Abraham did the mitzvahs with his own strength. But after we receive the Torah, our mitzvahs are done with Hashem's strength. The mitzvahs that are done by the forefathers before the Torah, on the other hand, were performed through the strength of the creations of each individual. And from the Creator's perspective, all levels of Jewish souls are equal, from the highest righteous to the lowest ignoramus. And therefore, the first version speaks of a Jew who's 99 years old has to circumcise himself. The second version is from our perspective. From our perspective, there are lower ones and higher ones. There's levels of service. And the message is that even one on the high level of righteous also has to uncover the godliness hidden in nature by removing that thick cover. And the general lesson from the story, and the Tzemach Tzedek's answer, is that by doing mitzvahs, a person becomes unified with Hashem. And even Jewish sinners are filled with mitzvahs like seeds fill a pomegranate. The word mitzvah itself means a connection. So even the sinners of Israel are connected to Hashem through the many mitzvahs that they do. And therefore, when a Jew does a mitzvah, he or she makes the blessing who has made us holy, Asher Kidshanu, which connects us to Hashem through his commandments. Now, this could cause a Jew to think that he has perfected himself. He's doing the mitzvahs. Therefore, we have the primary lesson from our story. The work of professing our service is continuous and ongoing. So whenever a person resolves to circumcise himself, to reveal his connection to Hashem continuously, he becomes worthy for Hashem to reveal himself. In the same way as he revealed himself to Avraham Avinu in a prophetic vision. And that's that story. We have a niggun.
We want the Mashiach now.
We want Mashiach.
Yeah, what are we doing here? Oh, okay. Okay. did I like? Oh, you want me to go higher than Okay, start again. Here we go.
All right. Time to say hi to the friends, or I should say.
Yeah, let's say hi to our friends Abba and Omek and
Ori.
Ori Heinen and Leigh
I haven't
Barnett.
seen Omek. Omek, if you're there.
Yeah, he's a lot of the time he's watching it now on the YouTube.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
yeah,
that's
he's
good.
there. Omek is there. Don't worry, we see him. We see him all through the week by all the shiurim and
What
the
does
show. and
Omek's,
everything.
what does Omek's name mean again?
Omek is deep.
Depth. Yeah. Omek is
Remember.
depth and who
Stay deep, Omek.
stay deep and Rabbi Zagri and all of our dear friends, Rabbi Goldstock
Angelica.
and Angelica and who else? We have more friends.
Steinhaus.
Karen and Abba. We said Abba. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And all of our dear
Kenny,
friends.
what's the guy's name? The saxophone player?
Oh, Danny!
Danny.
Our dear friend Danny! Yeah, and Caroline and everybody, hello. It's so good. Thank you for joining us here. And now, the moment we have all been waiting for.
Last time we were talking about how Hashem creates the world from nothing and enlivens it. And the way it's explained, the way it's illustrated for us, the way we can grasp it a little bit, is through metaphors. And through all the metaphors, it becomes brought close to the mind. This amazing thing of how Hashem creates everything every minute. Like, even if you think about it, this, where we're sitting right now, exists only now. Hashem is bringing it right into being right now from nothing. And there are multiple metaphors because there is no one metaphor that can grasp all the angles of the godly action. So there are four main metaphors of how Hashem enlivens the worlds and brings them into being. The first one is a sun and a ray. The ray is what causes the enlivenment and bringing stuff into being, while the sun itself is the source of the ray. Then you have how the soul enlivens a body. Like Einstein said, something is moving. Things are not just a cardboard cutout, but they're actually alive. And the thing that covers that is how the soul enlivens a body. And then you have how a candle shines a light. You bring a candle into a dark room, and now you can find whatever you're looking for. And the fourth one is the power of the actor in the act. Like one who throws a stone. The power of the guy who throws it is in the stone, but you don't see their connection. And through all those metaphors, it brings it close to the understanding of how Hashem does it. There's this godly actor, infinite actor that's outside, and he does everything through some kind of an outspread from that source. So it's possible to understand the idea through one metaphor, but through a bunch of metaphors, it brings it closer to the mind. We did that last time. But to achieve a clear understanding of the unity, meaning how Malchus of Atzilus, the kingly manifestation of royalty through the royal decree, let there be light, is what creates light. And to really understand how the godliness is unified in the world when Hashem creates it and enlivens it, you have to delve into the details of the metaphors to know which detail the metaphor is illustrating that the other metaphors don't. And that's called the width of this understanding. The length is to bring down many metaphors, it comes close to the mind, and the width is to understand the difference between the metaphors. So the length, again, is all the metaphors together. But the width is to understand which point is being illustrated by each metaphor that the other one doesn't illustrate. And to understand it well, we can point out that this thing we're explaining, how Hashem is unified in the worlds by bringing being and enlivening them, is called an essence through which an outspread is generated. The essence is Hashem, and the outspread is all of the creation. The worlds that are created feel and appear separate from Hashem. Even though he's the one that's enlivening them, keeping him being all the time, they appear separate. I appear separate from Gimel Aleph. And Gimel Aleph is separate from Lev.
We don't want to talk about how Gimel Aleph is separated.
No?
I'm going to give too much of the secrets away.
Don't worry, Betzalel, they'll stitch me back together soon.
So they appear separate and they feel separate. They themselves feel separate from each other. And that's this dynamic of an essence that effulges from which something is spread out. And it's encapsulated in a metaphor of godly energy called light. the infinite light. Now, there are four metaphors, like we said. We have the sun and the ray. The ray shines on the earth, can light up 1,000,000 houses, cook an egg on the sidewalk, give a person a suntan, grow a tree through photosynthesis, can run a generator through solar energy, and all of that happens, and the sun itself never changes. Then you have a light of the candle, which lights up a house, and then how the soul enlivens the body, and then the power of the actor in the act. And with all of them together, we can understand the depth of the dynamic of the unification of the infinite light in the created worlds. To bring them what? To bring them, Gimel Aleph, into being, and to enliven them from nothing. Now, to open up this understanding, we'll introduce the questions of the Greek philosophers. You heard of the Greek philosophers?
Yeah, they eat a lot of falafel. That's why they're called falafels.
Aristotle and
and these
all
guys.
those guys. They had two questions on the Jewish viewpoint.
Copernicus.
And their two questions were, number one, if the worlds are created by Hashem, and Hashem is infinite, how could a limited thing come out from the infinite? And after he brings them into being,
how can he not change?
How does he keep them alive without changing? He's dealing with them. You're correct, Gimel. They say before he was created, before he created these worlds, he was alone, and now he has these worlds. And he must be involved with them continually, and that indicates a change. According to them, he has to keep spinning the plates, or else the plates are going to stop moving. So they say, there must be intermediaries, other gods between Hashem and his creations. That's what they say.
Mitzaleh, I remember it like it was yesterday. When Aristotle asked me that question, I was there, you know.
You were there, yeah. You're the one that he asked the question?
Yeah, he asked me.
Or you were just monitoring?
You were a kid, still playing with your Play-Doh.
No, I was already middle-aged back then. And he asked me the question. And I didn't.
You told him when the Tanya comes out.
I told him it's not time yet. I can tell you.
But their eyes are blind. These Greek philosophers, they have eyes of flesh. They see things only in corporality, and they can compare Hashem's work to the work of people. But the only ability of people is to make something from another thing. People can't make something from nothing. You can make a cup out of a piece of silver, but you can't create a piece of silver. But Hashem makes a thing from nothing. So even though the godly light and action in filling up the worlds is called the power of the godly actor in the act, it's not like a human being's power of the actor in the act. Nevertheless, it's not similar, because a person's actions are done with already created matter. But Hashem brings the matter itself into existence. So the godly light actually brings both form, it means the attributes, and matter into existence. Form will be, for example, a lion is very strong and can move very fast and has a nature of attacking. That'll be the form. The matter will be what it's made out of, the fur, the claws, the teeth. So there's form and matter. And people, when they do something, they could change the matter, or they can even change the form. but it's something that exists to another thing that exists. But Hashem brings both form and matter into being from nothing. And to explain all this, we have to introduce two new metaphors, which describe godly energy. What are the two metaphors? One metaphor is flow, and one metaphor is light. And the godly energy will be encompassed better by the metaphor of light, as we're going to explain. Flow, shefa in Hebrew, describes a progression of something from something. I have a jar with water in it, and I pour it into a cup. Something from something. And in this metaphor of flow, there are two kinds. One, there's a physical entity which moves, moving or changing form. Like we said, the water in the jar goes into a cup. The other example is when a rich guy gives a poor guy $1. There is a change of location for the thing. There's a change in the guy who gives it, because now he has one less dollar. And there's a change in the guy who gets it, because now he has an extra $1. But there's another kind of flow, which is an existing spiritual energy that moves from level to level. So an example of physical something to something is, like we said, somebody gives a coin to a poor person, like water which flows from one place to another. The substance moves from place to place, affecting a change in both the giver. The jar has less water than it had before, and the cup has more water than it had before. The poor guy has an extra coin, and the guy who gave it is missing that coin. So in physicality, there's an actual change in this thing called flow. While a spiritual something to something is like a teacher who teaches a student. The teacher doesn't give the student an actual part of his intellect. He doesn't take a piece of his brain and give it to the student. He doesn't
lose the idea, B'Tzalel.
Right. He doesn't even take the idea and give it away. He retains the idea even after he teaches it. He gives a glimmer of this idea to the student, so the student can understand it with his own intellect. Like one who brings a candle into a house, allowing those inside to see what's in there. In other words, the student already had that information hidden by him. And when the teacher gives him this glimmer of the idea, it lights up the brain of the student where he can find where he really understood this thing already. Which is, I think it's a pretty groundbreaking, original description of a teacher and a student. Like the eyes of the wise are lit by the Jewish law. In other words, when the teacher teaches the student something in Jewish law, give me an example of something in Jewish law, Gimel Ella.
Anything?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Something in Jewish law is it can be simple also.
Simple. I want it to be simple.
Okay, simple. So we don't eat a piece of meat with a piece of cheese together.
Cheese together. No cheeseburgers.
Yeah, no cheeseburgers.
Now, once you told that to me, I understood it with my own brain. You weren't giving me the idea.
Yeah,
You were
had to
just lighting
understand.
up my brain so I could understand it.
Yeah.
So in spiritual something to something, there's not really a complete change by the teacher.
Not only that, but Tzalil, not only I didn't give you the idea. It's not that I didn't throw an idea in your brain. All you got was vibrations coming out of my mouth from sound. That's it.
Okay, we'll have to look at that more closely one of these days. So there is no complete change by the teacher, as there is by the guy who gives away the coin. The teacher doesn't lose anything of his own intellect when he teaches a student, as opposed to physical something to something. Nevertheless, there is a small change by the teacher. Can you guess what that is?
There's a change by the. I was going to ask you if he's not giving up the idea. So what kind of change?
So how is it something to something?
Yeah. So then it seems like he's making a thing that's new that wasn't there
The
before.
change is that the teacher can't be doing something else while he's teaching. The teacher had the ability to write a book. But
Yeah.
when he's teaching this thing to the student, he can't be writing a book at the same time.
Yeah, and he for sure can't be taking orders from his wife.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah. Make me a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
His intellect cannot be thinking or teaching another subject at a time when he's teaching this one. So you see there's a change. Similarly, when his intellect is involved in an action, now he's making it like a more general idea. When a person uses his mind to put something together, like Labe, when he plays the guitar, is using his mind to play the guitar, so he can't be out shopping at that time. So you see there is some small change in the teacher. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. So the metaphor of flow, which illustrates something to something, describes a change in the giver from before giving to during giving, but after having given in the spiritual dynamic, he returns back to himself completely. He didn't lose anything. And the reason for the change is that the giver and receiver are both limited creations. So it's not something from nothing, because nothing is unlimited. It can't be described, it can't be put in a jar, it's nothing. So nothing is unlimited. So something from nothing, there is no change in the nothing. Therefore, they're on a comparable level, the teacher and the student, even though the giver is more elevated in all these examples, like the one using his intellect to accomplish an action, the person and the action are both creations, and therefore they're both limited and not able to do two things at once. Therefore, there is a change from before the action or the teaching to during and after. But the metaphor of light, and that's going to be the metaphor that includes this action of something from nothing, and how it effulges is not something from something, because the source of the light is a nothing, but illustrates the dynamic of something from nothing. Something from nothing. Isn't there a song like that?
Nothing from nothing means
Yeah.
nothing.
So maybe it's time for a nigun before we get into something from from nothing.
Okay. Let's do the apocalyptic. You know that one.
Yeah.
Can I have that seltzer there? Thank you.
Hey, ya ma 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 mo ila da ma 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 oh yo you na ila da ma 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 Hey, ya ma 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 ya yo you na mo you na ma 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 ya ho yo ya na mo ya na ma 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 ya yo yanam o yanam amam o yaram yanam amam o yo yanam o yanaram amam Oite ya yo inaram o inaram yanam yo inaram Hey yo ya mama elara yo enam mama ya elara yo enam mama ya mama Hey ya mama elara yo enam mama ya mama elara yo enam mama ya mama yo ya mama Aite ya muilaram o yara yo yanam au yo yara yo yaram Haite ya muilaram o yaram yanam helaro yo yanam o yaram Hey ho ya mama elara yo yanam mama elara yo yanam mama ya mama Hey ya ya mama elara yo inam mama elara yo inam mo elara yo ya mama ya bam Hoy te yo inaro elara yo inam mama mo elara yo inam mama oh ilaro yo inam oh ilaram amam oh inaru
What's the translation of that?
It's in English the first part is let's see yamamam is la 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 li la la la.
Very good.
יש לך איך גיבור.
Now, in the metaphor of flow that we discussed from one thing to another, the idea that the teacher taught was originally included in his intellect. Even when he wasn't thinking about it, like for an example, when Einstein taught the theory of relativity, he knew in his database that 2 and 2 is 4. It existed there. So when he goes and teaches a second grade class, he's just giving information that existed. Even though it's not always apparent that it's in there, it has to be found and discovered. So before the teacher revealed the subject, it existed in a limited and a defined state. Not so in the outflow of light. Like the light of the sun, before it left the sun, it didn't exist in the flame of the sun. There was no ray in the flame of the sun. There was only the flame. Not like 2 and 2 is 4 as existed by the teacher. It didn't exist at all, this ray. So before it emerged, it didn't exist as a ray, so it was a nothing. And a nothing can't be described, and it can't be limited, and doesn't have any colors or any kind of form at all, because it's a nothing. And that's how the ray is in the sun before it comes out. So it's unlimited and uncontained. Not so when it shines into the atmosphere of the earth. It takes on limits and boundaries. But what boundaries and limits? According to the place in which it shines. When the sun shines in the window of a room, it's contained in the room. When it shines into the atmosphere of the earth, it's contained in the atmosphere of the earth. But it doesn't mean that the light itself is not infinite. It's only realized through these containers, through these vessels through which it shines. So when a ray of the sun shines through stained glass windows, it appears to the eye to be colored. There's a yellow light, a blue light, a red light, but the light itself never changed. It could light up a million windows like that. And all this, the colors and the limitation of where it's shining, was not in the original source of the light, because there it's a nothing. Where it's not limited, and it's outside of the range of colors. So it's understood that even at the time that it's contained in space and appears in colors, its unlimited simplicity is not changed at all. The only change is its revelation to the vessels of the ones who perceive its revelation. So the light in itself remains a nothing, but the ones who receive its revelation are a something, and to them, the light is an existent thing that is contained. So that's how Hashem does this thing of something from nothing. The light in itself is simple, and even in its outspread, the ray is like it was included in its source, and therefore it can shine in multiple locations and appear in a multitude of colors without changing in itself. Like it said, the sun shines on the whole world, whether spread out in the sky like daylight or concentrated through a magnifying glass. It's the same sun, the sun never changed. Just the perception of the ray is according to the ones who receive that perception.
Bezalel,
Yeah,
can you pass me that seltzer over there?
that's seltzer.
Thank you.
That's something.
That's something
That's
from
something.
something.
something from something. but then
On the other hand, what are the bubbles?
the garnished mit garnished.
Those are the rays from the sun,
It's garnished mit
the light
garnished.
from the sun.
Therefore, the outset of light from the sun is called nothing, how it is in the sun, to something, how it goes into those vessels. When the ray was included in the source, in the sun itself, it didn't exist. And even after it shines out from the sun, it's still unlimited until it hits those vessels. The ray in itself is not limited to space and colors. It could light up another million houses, or it could light up another million colors. The very same ray shines simultaneously through a blue glass to become blue and a yellow glass to become yellow. But in itself, the ray remains simple and unchanged and doesn't exist separately from its source, where it doesn't exist at all. It's a nothing. And only through its contraction into the space of the world, it takes on the characteristic of an existing thing. It can come into colors, so it appears to exist. But nothing has changed in its essence. So we see that something from nothing differs from something to something in two ways. One, there is no comparison between the source of the ray and the ray itself, because in the source, the ray doesn't exist. Because the ray takes no place at all in its source. And now the ray does exist. There is a ray. How it is in its source, there is no ray. It's completely nothing. Now, after it comes out, there's a ray that exists. Even if that ray is unlimited and indescribable and has no facets to it, but it's still a ray that exists. Two, in the ray, there's no comparison between how the ray is revealed to the one who perceives it, where it's limited in space and time and color, compared to how it left its source, where it was unlimited and indescribable. It didn't exist separately from its source. So I want to understand, and I think it'll help us get a picture. This ray that we're talking about is called the ray of infinite light. Before it came out from the infinite, it didn't exist. There was only the infinite. Now, after it comes out, it's called a ray of infinite light, which a ray of infinite light means that Hashem reveals to us his aspect of being infinite. And that's what the infinite light, that's what this ray is that we're talking about. A revelation of Hashem's attribute of being infinite. Hashem has a whole bunch of other stuff we don't know about. But his infiniteness, we do know about it, because he reveals it through this light. And this is not the case with something to something, where the receiver is in a comparable state of the one who's generating the flow. Even more so, the source and the flow itself are comparable to each other in something to something. And because the flow is limited in something to something, it cannot be in two different places at once. The teacher can't be teaching and writing a book at the same time. So the flow affects the source, which is forced to be into and limited by the flow, until the giver cannot be doing something else at the time he's giving. But in the metaphor of light, in the godly action, is a way of explaining how Hashem enlivens and creates worlds which appear and feel separate from him. And this dynamic of existence from non-existence, something to nothing, has two levels. One, the enlivenment by God's energy is through a ray of godly energy called infinite light, which did not exist when it was included in the source. Again, the ray does not exist in the flame of the sun. Now, even the ray after it comes out from its source is unlimited. Just as unlimited as the essence from which it spreads out. Therefore, the light of the ray has to be completely contracted. That's called the tzimtzum, in order for something else to exist. Because infinite light would be revealed, nothing else could be because it's infinite light. Think of the sun falling onto the earth. Nothing could exist in the face of it. Therefore, Hashem has to contract this ray, which is incomparable to its source, but itself is infinite, and it has to be contracted in order to allow limited worlds to exist. Because since it's a ray of infinite light, its revelation would negate the existence of separate limited worlds. And this contracted aspect of the ray has a specific name in Jewish mysticism. It's called the emptiness of the light. This contracted, how the light is contracted, even though it is every place, its light is completely contracted to allow other things to exist. The rikunius of the or, the emptiness of the light. And from this emptiness is brought into being limited worlds, called a something, created and limited. And since the ray is infinite, it needs to be hidden, to be empty, because the smallest revealed glimmer of infinite light would negate a separate, limited existence. So, to get an idea of it, a very rough idea, let's say, and we know Hashem is infinite, he's unlimited. Now, he wants to make a limited world. So the way he does it, he brings out a ray. Now, this is just me saying this, I didn't see this written, but it's just to give you a rough idea. The ray will be the decree of the king. The king is the ray, who's completely included in the source where it didn't exist at all. It's only the infinite. Now you have the king, which is the anthropomorphic expression of Hashem, and it has to be completely hidden from the world or the world couldn't exist. So how is it hidden? It's hidden in the letters of the godly speech. Let there be light. But even that expression, let there be light, is only a ray from which another ray comes, which will be able to enliven that thing called light and bring it into being. But since the ray of godly light is completely hidden through what we call a tzimtzum, a holiness, a new light called a reflection or a generated light, like these letters, let there be light, is enabled to shine, which finally enlivens the limited and separate worlds and creatures. Was that understandable at all?
Yeah, the rays. Very
Rays.
Science fiction.
Well, I don't know science fiction, but for example, like when you play the guitar, you want to express an emotion. Now you can't take a knife and open up your heart and spill it out onto the table. So what do? You contract.
Last time you did that, it was really messy.
You contract that emotion and you allow it to come out through your fingers on the guitar. So it's like a generated light. It's not your actual feelings, but you're able to communicate your feelings to another through that sound that comes out from the guitar, even though that sound that comes out is not you and your actual feelings, because you can't, there's no way to express that. So therefore, when you do it on the guitar, you are able, through contracting it into that generated light, to be able to communicate it to another where they're able to receive it.
Salil, that's a flying muscle. That's heavy duty. I like it.
Good.
But this emptiness of the light, which is called the tzimtzum, the emptiness, the rakunyas or, is not really empty of godliness. Like that music that comes out from Leib, it's not empty of Leib. It's just a hiding so that it could exist. It's merely a hiding of the revelation to the ones who receive their enlightenment. I just want to make sure, so I don't forget, in case some of our non-Jewish friends are listening in and watching the show. If they are those who feel that we stole their land, I want to share with them the fact that Hashem created the world. And the Torah starts with that. In the beginning, Hashem created the heaven and earth. And since he creates it, and he's creating it every second, he owns it. And he can give it to whoever he wants. And he gave it as a free gift and an inheritance to the Jewish people. And that's why it's ours. Not because an Englishman signed a piece of paper in 1970.
Good point, Bezalel.
So even though there is a light and a ray which is drawn down to the world, because the whole existence of the ray is from the essence of the light, but the essence of the light is not completely grasped in the ray. So it allows Hashem to do other actions at the same time that is creating enlivenment in the world. To emanate hundreds of millions of other worlds that don't exist, because it is not his desire to make them exist, but he could, because he's infinite, and his ray is infinite. And the proof is that even as things exist now, we see Hashem can do two opposites at once. Like at midnight, he cured the Jews from the wound of their circumcision, and he killed the firstborn of the Egyptians. And it was all done at the same moment of midnight. Or even if we take the metaphor of the sun, a ray of the sun can blind someone who stares at it, but it brings light to a dwelling through a window. And the sun itself never changed. Should we have a tune? Or
Yeah, we can have a tune, but first I want to just say hello, Sterika B, and America Ayon, and Mendel Kunin, and Ludmila Broder, Rajesh Magula, Naranja Nira, and Karin Devi, and Meishe Duek, and all of our other friends. Thank you for joining us. Let's L'chaim, L'chaim.
Can I have the seltzer, please?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was miraculous, wasn't it? Oh, wait.
Seltzer.
I gave you a cup of seltzer. Okay,
Okay.
here we go. Wait, time out. I have an idea. Wait, let me get it all the way around so I can still.
This is one of those complicated songs.
You need help with you want to push it?
Oh yeah na 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 oh yeah di mama Ayaladam. Aho yo yedi mam mam. Ayina na 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 nam. Ayedi mam mam. Teyo yina na 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 nam. Oyedi mam mam. Teyo yelaram. Aho yo yedi mamam. Te ya mam. Te ya Oh, and Aram, aho, yo, yedi, mam, te ya, yina, yo, yina, oh, yedi, mamam, oh, yina, oh, yedi, mamam, oh, yina, yo, yedi, mamam, oh, yina, yedi, mamma, why, yinaram, oh, yedi, mamma, te ya, yina, oh, yedi, mamam, oh, 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 yinaram, oh, yedi, mamam, te ya, mamam, te ya, te yo enaram, yo yedi mamam, te ya yo, te yo oh yedi mamam, oh yedi mamam, oh yedi mamam, oh elaram, oh yedi mamam, oh elaram, ay, oh yedi mamam, te ya oh yedi mamam, oh yedi mamam, oh yedi mamam, oh yedi mamam, ay, oh yedi mamam, that hits the spot there.
So we understand that the one who projects that ray of infinite light himself never changes. Everything is done through the ray. The world is brought into being and enlivened by that ray. But the metaphor of the sun and its ray finally breaks down like any physical metaphor for a godly action. The ray shines out directly from the sun. But the creation is done, like we said, through a contraction. Hashem has to hide himself, and he has to hide the ray. And that causes a gap, a jump from unlimited to allow a completely new flow, which is limited, a reflected light. So it's not similar to like how the ray does not exist in the flame of the sun, where there is no change at all in the sun when the ray shines out. I think we said that one already, we did. We're explaining now about the gap, how it's not like a ray that comes out from the sun.
Betzalel, my pants are from the gap.
Well, that's where all the worlds are created from. This place is any.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened with the pages, so I'm just going to tell you outside that the real metaphor is not how the sun shines a ray, it's how lightning flashes out from a dark place. The dark place being the contraction of the light, which we call the emptiness of the light, and a flash comes out. What's the flash? The new world that's being created from nothing, from that dark place. Let there be light. Now, just like with lightning, when the lightning leaves its source, it can't exist. It has to go back and be included back in its source immediately. But for the world to exist, there has to be a new lightning flash. The difference is that lightning, when it comes out, is a different lightning than the one that came before. But by Hashem, the same world is created now. The new lightning is the same world that existed one split second ago. It has to go back and be included in its source because it cannot be outside. And then the new lightning flash, the same world, has to be created from nothing immediately. So Hashem is always creating the world something from nothing through the letters of the godly speech. How about if we can have a niggin so I can sort out these pages?
Yeah.
Okay, how about we do the old standard Ohio? If you don't mind. What's that?
How about like actually?
You want
Or the Nikolai Wonk? No, not that way. What are you feeling like? Whatever you feel like.
better stick to something basic.
Okay, fine, good. But which one? The yellow one? Yellow one?
Yep.
Okay, go. Hey, yo, I did him, oh, I did him, I did him, I did him, oh, I did him, I did him, hey, yo, I did him, oh, I did him, I did him, oh, I hey, oh, I did him, I did him,
All right. Now, this existence, this godly light that brings everything into being and creates it every minute, is called the light that fills all worlds. Again, the infinite can surround all the worlds equally, but it can't fit into each world. Like an ant is a separate existence that needs a certain amount of measured light for it to exist, while an ocean is a limited existence, but needs a bigger amount of light to keep in existence. But it's all coming into being through that godly speech, through that lightning flash. And that's called the light that fills all worlds. So it appears to be limited. But when we say about Hashem that he's infinite, it doesn't mean how science understands infinite, which is forced to be infinite, because you're calling it infinite, therefore it can't be finite at the same time. But by Hashem, he has the power of, when you say infinite, it means the infinite ability to do whatever he wants, to shine in a small way or to shine in an unlimited way. So this light that fills the world is really from Hashem, even though it appears to be small and limited. And understanding this will allow us to grasp the unity of Hashem with the light that fills all worlds, which by definition is limited to the world which is enlivening. Nevertheless, the light is limited only by the one who emanates the light, not by the vessels. It's he that hides himself to allow and bring out the limited revelation. And therefore, the infilling light, its real being, is the essence of the light itself, in order to allow a separate creation. And it's all one. It's really Hashem that is directing the light and filling the light and filling the place where the light is. Like it says, listen, Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. He's unified in everything. And up to here is the metaphor of a sun and its ray. Now it has three more metaphors. If you remember, there's a candle in the glow,
Yeah, a candle.
There's the throwing of the stone.
power of the actor in the act,
In the act.
and
And
how the
how
soul
is enlivened.
enlivens the body. So I don't know if we should keep going or have a niggin in the
Let's do a
time.
special niggin for those who are held captive.
Oh, what niggin? Oh, this is a niggin called Pada B'Shalim, and it means that they will be redeemed in peace, in a peaceful way. Without problems, they'll be redeemed. Pada B'Shalim, Nafshi Mikraveli, Ki Berabi, Hoyu Imadi, Pada B'Shalim, Nafshi Mikraveli, Ki Berabi, Hoyu Imadi, Yishma Keleveyanim, Veyerishev Kedem Selo, Yishma Keleveyanim, Veyerishev Kedem Selo, Asher ein Chalifeis Lamei, Asher ein Chalifeis Lamei, Eleyahu Elokim, Eleyahu Elokim, Sholach Yodov B'Shleimov, Chileil, Chileil, Chileil B'Yisei, Cholko Machmoes Pivu Kerov Edibei, V'yirachu Devarov Mishemen, V'yeheima Psicheis. Hash, hash, out Hashem Yehovah, Yehovah Yifalecha, Ne'yeh Lo Mitlat Tzadik, Hay Mitlat Tzadik, V'yato Elokim, Te'irideim Livei Shachas, V'yato Elokim, Te'irideim Livei Shachas, Anshe Domim u'mirma, Le'yechetzu yemeihem, Anshe Domim u'mirma, Le'yechetzu yemeihem. V'ani etavo, v'ani etavo, v'ani etavo, v'ani etavo, v'ani etavo, v'ani
subject of helping our family members in Eretz Yisrael, I think it's even in science that a thing that's done in the molecule here affects all the other molecules. And so too in a spiritual level. When we take a spiritual action, it has a direct effect higher than space and time. And when we put on tefillin, especially now, it says that the tefillin on our head will cause fear to the nations of the world. So when we go out and put on tefillin now, it has an actual effect to help what's going on in other places of the world. And it's the same thing in lighting Shabbos candles. It has an effect of lighting up the world with godliness. So try to make an effort, find your local Chabad representative, and try to put on tefillin tomorrow. Ladies, try to light Shabbos candles tomorrow, with the intention that it's going to help in our a place that we find ourselves in the world right now.
B'Tzalel, I want to tell you a story.
Oh.
I was a few years ago. I was in the Jewish home here on Brownsville Road, and I was talking there. One of the residents that I had become a friend with. His name was Elmer Solomon, but he was known in Israel. He was known as General Elmer Solomon, and by the way, before that, he was also known as General Elmer Solomon. He was an artillery general under George Patton.
Wow.
In World War II.
Wow.
And after World War II, he came to Mount Washington, and he opened up a shop. And he told me that 2 weeks later, they came and they told him they wanted, can he come? And
Israel.
Yeah, to Israel. They were starting anyways, he told them to get out of this. It says, I told them I just was in war. And not only that, he was a general, so he was in war for a long time, but he was in service for a long time. But by this time, he was already, finished with wars and this kind of thing. And anyways, he said, get out of here. He said, and he told me that a week later, he was on a plane to Israel, and he was the advisor to Moshe Dayan on the artillery, on how to place the artillery, where to fire it, because he had a lot of experience, obviously.
This was in the 6-Day War?
No, this was in the 48th war.
So Moshe Dayan was I don't know if he was a baby. He wasn't a big.
Yeah, he was already there.
Director.
He wasn't. He was a general. Moshe Dayan. He wasn't yet the defense minister. Later on, he was a defense minister. Mm-hmm. But during there, he was already. Moshe Dayan was even before the official war started. He was a leader in the what's it called, in the Haganah, in the all these things.
Interesting.
Anyways, so this is what he told me. But then what he told me, very interesting. He was feeling down. This Elmer Solomon, and he told me. He said, Rabbi, I am old and useless. He told me. He said, strap bombs to my wheelchair and throw me at Hamas. This is what he said. And I told him, what do you mean you're useless? You are more powerful than ever. You just have to learn to use a different kind of weapon. And this is the weapon of tefillah, of davening, of putting on tefillin. So from that day, he every day would come down to the minyan. He would put on, and I remember I would come to the minyan. He would be with his tefillin, and he would, let me tell you, when a guy like this is a real soldier, when he would salute, it's funny, all of a sudden, all of his 80 years, 60 years came off it. He looked like a young soldier again. And this guy would salute, and you would see the resolve in his eyes. And he would salute, and he would say, Rabbi, I strapped on my sword, I put on my weapons, was the tefillin. So everybody, my dear holy brothers and sisters,
Beautiful story.
Light Shabbos candles, put on tefillin. Don't think that this is a symbolic thing. This is how Jews when wars, we have these holy soldiers, these soldiers who are protecting the holy land and the holy people and risking their life every day. And we can do something, but this thing is not just a symbolic thing to show them support and this and that. This is something that can really bring a light into what they're doing and can really help them be victorious and safe. And at the very least, these holy soldiers who are protecting our land and our people, the least we can do is put this shield of mitzvahs to protect them. Do a mitzvah. Maybe it seems a little bit hard and you don't have time. Do it for us, for the soldiers of Israel. Put on tefillin, light the Shabbos candles, give a little bit charity, do a mitzvah, do something, or even just take a mitzvah you're already doing and do it a little bit with more joy and with more strength. That's all I have to say about that, Betzalel.
Thank you. Very good.
Where we the G?
Remember, kids, Gezintahait.
Yeah, baby.
Moshiach now.